Seventh Child Publishing presents Silas Wilcox and Margaret Belinda Allen. New evidence changes their story, Part 3. This video continues the documented story of my third great-grandparents. Part 1 told of their origins through traveling to Nauvoo in 1840. Part 2 video told a lot more detail about their life in Nauvoo. This video, Part 3, will cover what happened to them after the saints were driven from Nauvoo. Most of this documentation has been made available in recent years, including new evidence about the death of Margaret Belinda Allen made available after April 2024. Early in 1846, Silas bought a load of lumber to Nauvoo from Wisconsin. He was quite excited to see his wife and his two young children. He had money from his wages that he wanted to give to them. As he neared his home, there was a man standing outside of the door. His name was Jesse Pierce Harmon. He told Silas that he was going to marry Margaret. They had strong words for some time. Silas's younger son, who was only about 5 years old at the time, told his descendants that his father slammed the money on the table and left, never to return to that home. Silas returned to Wisconsin and lived there for a time with his two sons who had gone there with him. Margaret received her endowment on 3 February 1846 in the partially finished historic Nauvoo temple. She was married to Jesse on 6 February 1846. For some reason, this was not known to the descendants of Samuel Allen Wilcox and Margaret Belinda Parker, or Martha Bolton Parker. Sometime before 5 April 2024, I went on Family Search and saw a comment from a descendant of William Christopher, who told the story shown on the previous slide too. Unfortunately, I have not been able to find that comment anywhere, so I can't contact that person and get more detail. A few days later, I noticed that someone had changed Margaret Belinda Allen's relationship and combined her record with someone who was married to Jesse Pierce Harmon. I contacted them to find out the source of this change. On March 28, 2024, Shauna C. Anderson Young merged Margaret Belinda Allen, LZ698QM, with Margaret Allen, L219ZSJ, as the surviving person. This added a new death and burial date and place. 3 December 1848 in Big Springs, Potawatomi, Iowa, United States. Reason: tithing book, Big Spring branch. This also added the marriage of Jesse Pierce Harmon on 6 February 1846 in Nauvoo, Hancock, Illinois, United States. On 5 April 2024, I contacted Shaughnessy Anderson Young and said, "You have made some major changes for my third great-grandmother, Margaret Belinda Allen, without adding the source, except noting it coming from a tithing record. I need to know more so I can correct the record on several places like her Find a Grave Memorial and the Wilcox Family Organization websites and trees." She replied, "Hi, Eileen. I've been doing research on a settlement called Big Spring near Canesville in Potawatomi County, Iowa. I will have that history completed in about 1 week, and it will be available at earlylds.com. I used the Big Spring tithing record to obtain the residents of the settlement. Margaret Harmon moved from Council Point to Big Spring. You can see the record and it gives the link, pages 12 and 13, which are full page, but it says the tithing of Chauncey W. Porter went to Margaret Harmon on November 18, 1848, and a list was given there of what she received. It said she was buried 3 December 1838. That should be 1848. It says 1838 here. Still quoting, received of the daughter of deceased Phoebe Ann Wilcox 1 calf to defray the expense of her coffin. Writing question mark to move children away. Usually they buried the dead and the same day, so they died, but she could have died a couple of days earlier. I hope that clarifies what I changed, but if not, change it to what you want. Shauna Anderson Young. This is the website that tells the story of the Big Springs branch, where Margaret Harmon moved with her daughter Phoebe Ann and her son William Christopher Wilcox. The Big Spring branch tithing record book listed several people whose tithing provided food and services for Margaret Harmon. Page 4 and 5 say the tithing of Samuel Brown moved Margaret Harmon to Big Springs on 10 October 1848 and charged Jesse Harmon $1 for it. He also made a pair of shoes for her daughter Phoebe Ann. Page 16-17 include keeping a calf for her and providing her with foodstuff. Page 18-19 says that Eliza Hill's tithing went to Dr. Jonathan to pay for the care of Margaret Harmon. Page 22-23 shows that Lyman Dutton sent his bay on 6 December 1848 to send Margaret Harmon's children and her effects to Council Point. There are more images that I am trying to organize with links and transcriptions, which will be added to the notes and the description attached to these stories on Family Search. Margaret Harmon had come from Council Point to Big Spring Branch with her 2 children in October 1848, so that is probably why they took the children back to Council Point. Phoebe Ann was 12 years old, and William was 7 years old at the time Margaret died. Their oldest brother, Samuel Allen Wilcox, was the one who took them into his home, since their father was in Wisconsin. Phoebe Ann Wilcox wrote a letter thanking Samuel Allen Wilcox and his wife, Martha Bolton Parker, for taking them in and treating them as their own children. Silas Wilcox returned to the lumber camps in Wisconsin. He was living with his married son, Silas Almiron Wilcox, on the 1850 census in Black River, Crawford, Wisconsin, United States. He returned to Iowa sometime before 1851 when he was married to Eunice Abigail Woodland, birth name Mosier. On 8 June 1851 in Fremont County, Iowa, United States, the Iowa State Census of 1854 lists Silas's house with 2 males and 2 females. Census of the Iowa Census of 1856 shows Silas and Eunice living with their 2-year-old daughter, Melinda Viola Wilcox, in Preparation, Monona County, Iowa. Probably around 1854, Silas and Eunice began to follow Charles B. Thompson, who claimed to be the spirit successor of Joseph Smith. He set up a community in Preparation to which Thompson claimed that they were preparing Jehovah's Presbytery of Zion. He claimed to receive revelation that required adherents to put their land and property into the church leaders' hands. He had them brainwashed for a time, but many of them began to wake up, and in October 1858 they began to rebel and ran Thompson and his family of cohorts out of the town. Litigation began in 1859, and they were awarded judgment in 1867. I wrote a history of Silas Wilcox, which included the full story of Preparation and Silas's response to what he went through. I will add a link to that history once I add it to Family Search Memories. In the research notes published in the 1957 Samuel Allen Wilcox Family Bulletin, there are 2 pages that contained a continuation of the notes. Page 71 image 80, and page 72, image 81. Aunt May did not know about Silas following Charles B. Thomas. The history of Silas I mentioned above includes the corrections and updates I made. The timeline I added to this slide shows the documented records we have of Silas's life in preparation. In 1854, according to the Iowa State Census 1854, Silas' home included 2 males, 2 females, and that's also the year that we're assuming he joined Thompson's group. 13 June 1855, Silas was listed as a family head, and that was in Preparation News and Ephraim's Message. In 1856, Silas' wife Eunice and daughter Melinda are listed on the 1856 Iowa State Census. In 1857, a child born and died. Eunice's letter notes 3 deceased children and 1 living. In 1858, they ran Thompson and his family out of town, and that's from the history of preparation. In 1859 is the birth and death of a daughter, according to Eunice's letter. This is a continuation of slide 12 with the timeline of Silas's life in preparation, Monona, Iowa, United States. We will start with Silas's 1859 letter to Samuel Allen Wilcox family, where he tells them he is discouraged about religion. See the history of Silas mentioned earlier for more details. The 1860 census lists Silas with his wife Eunice and a daughter Melinda living in preparation. 21 October 1860, Silas writes a letter to Samuel Allen Wilcox family about the birth of his daughter Idella Marie Wilcox on 17 October 1860, being the second daughter to live to adulthood. December 11th, 1860, Silas wrote a letter to Samuel Allen Wilcox family trying to discourage them from moving to Salt Lake City in the spring of 1861. 28 February 1861, Silas writes another letter with harsh words trying to discourage Samuel Allen Wilcox and his family from going west. So in 1859, well, I'm not going to read what's here. The timeline is continued with a letter he wrote on 21 February 1863, in which he expresses how much he enjoys hearing from his children and grandchildren. There is no hint of animosity for their move west. He also states that they will have to remain where they are living in preparation for another season, probably meaning they were thinking of moving away. 5 October 1865, Silas Wilcox died in preparation. Although some have claimed He died at his daughter Phoebe's home without any documentation or place Phoebe lived. 7 October 1865, Silas was buried somewhere near Preparation, although the present Preparation Cemetery was not established until 1867. 1867 was also the year the case against Thompson was won. Okay, we can stop. Eunice Abigail Mosier, second wife of Silas Wilcox, had at least 5 children, probably 6, with Silas. In a letter she wrote in 1859, probably written in 1856 or 1857, she talks about giving birth to 3, with only 1 still living. Children of Silas and Eunice: child, a male, born about 1851 or 2 in Fremont County, Iowa, United States. He died after the 1854 Iowa State Census in Preparation, Monona, Iowa, United States. 2. Melinda Viola Wilcox, born 8 January 1854 in Preparation, died 15 July 1885 in Spokane, Washington, United States. She married Louis Halsey Dennison in 1873. Child, gender unknown, born and died about 1856 to 1857 in Preparation, Monona County, Iowa, United States. Belinda Wilcox, born and died in 1859 in Preparation, Monona, Iowa, United States. Idella Marie Wilcox, born 17 October 1860 in Preparation, and died 2nd of June 1932 in Trinidad, Los Alamos. Oh, I said that wrong. Anyway, you can read it. Colorado, United States. She married Marcus Alberto Higgins in 1876. Edith Orlena or Ella Wilcox, born 27 August 1862 in Preparation. She died 27 February 1955 in Medical Lake, Spokane, Washington, United States. She married Henry Wellington Andrews 7 June 1877 in Spring Valley, Monona, Iowa, United States. By the way, Spring Valley is close to Preparation. In the histories and documents I have read about Charles B. Thompson, most of the followers that turned against him did not turn against the church as they understood it. They continued to live wholesome and good lives in their community. I think our Silas Wilcox was one of those wholesome and good people. History of the Reorganized Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Volume 3, 1844 to 1872. Chapter 2 includes the history of Charles B. Thompson, pages 53 to 61. Excerpts from the above entry on page 57 and 59 in the Preparation News and Ephraim's Messenger, June 13, 1855, include Silas Wilcox in a list of family patriarchs. To finish off this video, I will give you a preview of my research for the burial of Silas Wilcox and Margaret Belinda Allen. As with the rest of this story, new evidence changes what we thought before. The new evidence also gives us clues why wrong conclusions were made in the past.